playing higher in this game. Alozie as well. Tony Payne higher. They were outside backs than Alozie and Tony Payne in the last game.
Yeah, we saw them move up in the second half, and that's really when Nigeria was able to get a couple of good looks. Randy telling us he was pleased the few times that he was able to see his team get into attack mode. Nigeria had 8 shots in the match, 4 of those on goal for Alyssa Nair, who maintained the shutout streak. Picked up her 50th shutout in her U.S. career individually.
And definitely coming with a mid block rather than a low block. You saw a lot more of in that first game. A little bit higher confrontational line with those 2 forwards. And Echegini in that 10 position, popping high as well.
Morgan coming back to midfield. Now back to Cook. Cook and Gurma getting some time together on that back line. Really a developmental move, if you will, to Blanco. Certainly nothing he disliked about Fox ended on the far end by Ujebi. Odette Hamilton from Jamaica, our referee. All women of color on our referee crew for this match tonight. Huerta. Cross.
I think to be expected in the first 10 minutes, but just a step or 2 off with those balls, either threaded in, flighted in the final third. An area for sure that the U.S. has been working on in terms of consistency of finding that player in the box, finding that player in the seam.
Payne has it intercepted by Fox. Thought that Emily Fox-Mal Pugh combination was good on that side Saturday against Nigeria as well. Emily Fox picking up an assist. First of her career in the U.S. Huerta. DeMahie, number 5, took that away. Saw she had an outlet in Anumano. Waits for some help.
Well done by Alana Cook, buying some time, delaying, allows Fox to get back, allows Gurma to get in position to cover for her. And that's the outlet ball that Nigeria is going to be looking for all night. On the counter, can they free up Anumano running at players?
And how about Michelle Alozie? Almost like a place kicker in football. She's got the special cleat on over there in the corner.
The one blue boot.
Yep, she saw her practicing these a lot at training yesterday. Winds up over the heads of everyone, but is kept in. DeMahie, one of 4 U20 players on this roster, just joining the senior team. Some of the changes that they had to make, as you mentioned, 6 starters out. And so there are some young players getting an opportunity in this match. DeMahie, number 5, one of those, along with Imran on the back line, number 8. Fresh off the U20 World Cup with Nigeria, where they were knocked out in the quarterfinals, won their group, were unbeaten in the group.
Yeah, and that was not an easy group for that under-20s. France, South Korea, Canada won all 3 games and then knocked out by the Netherlands.
A lot of runners. Morgan, the initial target, picked up, shot, but wide.
Consistent theme here we're seeing with Sophia Smith. Loves to come inside, come off Morgan. See so much of that rotation. And there it is, picking that ball up, assisted by Nigeria and that one. But that movement is something we've seen a lot of with Rose Lavelle, then assuming a wide position, or Huerta on the right side as well.
ESPN's coverage of U.S. soccer is presented by the all-electric Volkswagen ID4. Horan in the middle. Yeah, her team had really been in a rut, and they needed that win. It's a tight table in the NWSL. Here is Coffey in her U.S. debut. Horan knocked off the ball, no foul called. She wasn't quite ready for it. Back Pugh is.
Horan just trying to get out of the way, tucks into. And here she's trying to get in. You can see it falls to her. To Morgan. And really, the idea is there for Pugh. She's just trying to whip it with the inside of it, bend it in. Gets too much on it on that one.
4 shots for the U.S. so far. Saw Horan wearing the captain's armband tonight. Told you about some of the young players coming in for Nigeria as well. One of those is Oni Echegini, number 18 in the middle. Name may well be familiar to college soccer fans, currently playing with the defending national champs Florida State. As Horan once again causing problems for the defense, and she goes down, wonders how is there not a foul there?
Yeah, and you can see clearly in these first 16 minutes, as you saw in the first game against Nigeria, there's no backing out of tackles. This is a physical game. They play a physical style, fast, athletic. But it's again that rotation from Horan and Lavelle that can cause so many issues coming out of midfield. No one wants to track it. You have now 5 running at you consistently. You add in the fullbacks in Huerta and Fox, that's a handful for any team.
So far, so good. Nigeria holding strong, haven't gotten too much on the offensive end, but also haven't conceded anything. U.S. scored in the 14th minute in the first of 4 goals on Saturday. Lavelle floats the ball, but a little bit too close, and Nadozi has it.
So much is so good in that sequence. It's just that last piece of the puzzle again. The rotation of Smith inside, opening up the space in that outer corridor for Rose Lavelle to pop into, and it's just that piece right now that they haven't been able to connect on.
Ajibade won the ball first, tried to flick it toward Anamano. Lavelle, 3 runners in front of her. Which way does she go? It's what you were looking at before the match, Julie, when we were showing the video, those options and the choices that front line makes. So far, anything you'd like to see a little differently?
Well, look at how pinched in those 3 are right now. That's on purpose, of course, for the reason that they want to get Horan out wide. They want to get Rose Lavelle out wide. They want to get those fullbacks out wide. But in a quick transitional play like that, it can also hinder you a bit, right? You're running straight lines on a straight ball with 3 pinched in players, and there's no time to get those other players forward. So instead of trying to play that ball in, if you're the United States, maybe build that play a little bit. I know there's these transitional moments you want to pounce on. It's very tempting. But sometimes patience serves you well.
Coffee wants to go quickly. Pugh will need a good bounce. I know you mentioned the word patience, Julie. U.S. soccer fans, U.S. women's soccer players have had to be patient for a long, long time, but a moment that they have long been waiting for is going to come tonight at the end of this match. Stick around, we will have it for you on the ESPN app. The signing of the historic collective bargaining agreement.
Clap, let's go. Start it off. Everyone at home, let's go.
Equal pay coming your way. Yes, finally for the U.S. women. So that is coming up after.
It's
really
going to be official.
Moment. Yes, and we'll talk to U.S. Soccer President Cindy Parlow-Cone at halftime as well. Get her thoughts on what all this means, because it's been a long time coming, as you well know.
Very proud moment.
Lavelle dances around one defender. Imran left in the dust, but helped out quite well by Demehin, the 20-year-old, in her second ever appearance for Nigeria. I mean, this side closest to us, where Lavelle keeps finding some room to move, has those two very inexperienced players just in their second cap ever for Nigeria, and Imran and Demehin.
And you can see the space in front of Rose when she's picking up that ball.
Smith. Who wants it? Eventually it was touched by Pugh, but not enough.
Smith so good at setting up defenders. Touch, shifts her left, cuts back right, finds that little seam, but again, just can't finish that connection. But really having their way on that right side. And to your point, Jen, 2 under-20 players for Nigeria at left center back and left back.
Great atmosphere here at Audi Field. First time ever for the U.S. women playing at this field, home of DC United and the Washington Spirit in the NWSL. Defending NWSL champs, Washington Spirit. Different story this year as that team, despite a heavy presence on this U.S. squad, has struggled. Fox up to Pugh on the ground. Horan ready, waiting, first save made. Horan tripped up. Still, we wait for a whistle. There is not one.
Great tackle. We're going to get a look at this from O'Holly, who goes to ground to save that goal because Horan had a step on her. And it's this precision that they've been lacking in the final third. They get it on this ball into Horan. Good save. And it's O'Holly there for the tackle.
Brave, big tackle by Holly. Second corner coming for the U.S. Lavelle bends it in. Mano, heads it. And Coffee will allow it to go out for a U.S. throw. U.S. unbeaten all time against Nigeria, 7-0. And many of those meetings have come on the international stage. 5 in the World Cup, 1 in the Pugh. Another good-looking ball, and it is in! It may have been Nigeria who touched it last, but that setup had eyes for the back of the net.
You see by the reaction of Demaheen that it came off of her foot, it looks like. And that's what that ball creates when you're running at your own goal, when it comes in with pace. And again, look at the numbers on that front line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it is, in fact, Demaheen who knocks that one in. Pugh with the ball across. Had she not got to that, maybe it's Haran on the end of it anyways. But it was only a matter of time as the U.S. kept knocking at the door. And a good ball across by Mal Pugh.
You know, an own goal, I would say, is not always earned necessarily. Sometimes it is truly just a mistake by the defense. But a lot of times, and I think you would put this in that category, when you play a good ball, when you have lots of good movement, you force these defenders into very difficult positions. And the U.S., as you said, had been coming, had been pushing, getting a lot of good numbers, good looks in the box.
And that's the beauty of that ball, is when you turn that back line and they're running at that own goal defensively and you whip that in, it's so hard for them to not clear it into their own goals. How many have we seen in our lifetime own goals scored just like that when you whip that ball in with pace?
Alozie and Onumonu, two current NWSL players on this Nigeria roster, linking up here. Alozie made her overlapping run. Here's Echegini, Florida State Seminole. Transferred in from Mississippi State to play for Florida State this season.
As you mentioned, Jen, so many connections to the United States. Said it before, we say it again. Tony Payne played at Duke as well. Played with Onumonu actually on the under-23 youth national team. Also, Tony Payne played on the under-17 USA, both of them USA youth national team, played in that under-17 World Cup in 2012. But as we know, you can play on a youth national team. Sofia Huerta is a good example on the U.S., played for Mexico.
And the senior Mexican national team, although hers is a special circumstance, first ever to play for both the senior national teams of Mexico and the U.S. when she made the change. But yes, to your point,
yep,
this is the #1 team in the world, and a lot of times you may find out you've got options to play elsewhere after that youth experience and get a chance to play in a World Cup. I'm going to go and take it. Just incredible run of success, being challenged a little bit more in Africa, though. Just finished 4th in their qualifying tournament, still enough to qualify in what will be our biggest World Cup ever coming up in 2023. But they've won that tournament 11 times. Smith on the ground for Morgan, couldn't turn. Now how do these young defenders respond? They're just conceding the own goal. The 6th own goal, by the way, that the U.S. has been a beneficiary of in this calendar year, which is the most ever in a calendar year. Huerta. A little more than she could handle.
Good start. First 25 for Sam Coffey. Helping in the build-up, stepping in when needed.
Well, this is Sophia Smith on the ground. That is not a good sign or good sight. 22 years old, Sophia Smith. You forget she's so young sometimes, but is actually the youngest on this particular U.S. roster. Typically, Trinity Rodman would be in that conversation as well. Talented young player for the Washington Spirit, but was not able to play in these friendlies due to family commitment. Nine goals for Sophia Smith in 12 appearances coming into tonight for the U.S.
Yeah, leads the team this year, U.S. women's national team. Of course, we've seen what she's done as well with the Thorns and her 11 goals. Here is tackle.
Well, if it was that, Couldn't see too much on it. Tried to keep going in the moment anyway. Got a quick glimpse of a very familiar pink-haired face. I think it's still pink. Megan Rapinoe warming up down there, maybe a bit more lavender. Great crowd. Washington, D.C. has seen the U.S. play
purple hue right now.
We're gonna. It's a little. Yeah. Might need a fresh touch-up of color.
Get on that, Pino.
Either way, unmistakable. As looks like.
Yeah, and
we'll get a break here. It is still hot. It's 82 degrees this evening. Sun is going away, but still warm and muggy. Smith off at the moment. U.S. down a player. She's now back on the field. There's Tony Payne, who you mentioned, former Duke Blue Devil, grew up in Birmingham, Alabama. And Alozie plays for the Houston Dash. Played at Tennessee and Yale collegiately. Grew up in California. Number 12, Alozie.
Emily Fox on that left side has been doing such a good job. Both sides of the ball there defensively. You have the pace of Alozie, which you've seen for Dash fans. They've seen in action. 6 games, 2 goals for her. But then what Fox gives you is that other side of the ball as well. So good at
Germany to Dusseldorf to take on Japan. Coverage begins at 8 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2. Pugh hops onto the ball, but is flagged for offside.
Another great sequence, though, but for the United States. All starts with the defensive work in midfield with Rose Lavelle. Winning it all the way back, a little 1-2, finds Haran, and there is Pugh in that offside position.
The U.S. was not called for offside once in that first meeting. Now, some of that certainly could be because of that lower line of confrontation by Nigeria. You could see they are stepping up a little more, so there is some more space to play with if you get the timing right. Here's Echegini. Florida State Seminole gets a shot on goal, but easily saved by Casey Murphy, North Carolina Courage goalkeeper. Echegini, such an interesting story. He was born in the Netherlands, grew up really in London, and then came to the United States, played at Mississippi State for 3 years, led that team in scoring the last 2 years before transferring to Florida State for this season.
There again is that intentional rotation, Jen. Rose Lavelle high, Sophia Smith pops into midfield.
Good numbers here for Nigeria. Ajibade, edge of the box. Goes out now for Alozie. Pugh's definitely ready to go. Has Morgan central. Looks to get around one defender. And I'm shocked, quite honestly, at some of the non-calls that have happened thus far in this match. I get letting them play, but you see an extended arm. I don't know how that's not called a foul.
Yeah, that clearly is a foul on Pugh. You could see her looking incredulously at the ref as well.
A pretty physical, hard-fought first half. That shot from Echegini, the first for Nigeria, perhaps looking to add to that tally now. Not on target, though.
And this is something we can see Pugh do over and over again, having the pace to beat players. And here is the confrontation right there. I think that look says it all. I think that look says it all.
I think it does. Will the U.S. be frustrated, Julie, at this point in the match, not to have more to show for it, knowing they're going up against, that was an 18-year-old right there, Imran on the back line, that they haven't capitalized on more of their opportunities in the attack?
I I think that
Well, this one gets taken away. Let's see what Echegini can do with it. Wants to go herself. Payne now. Went to the College Cup with Duke in her time there. Typically is more of an attacking player. Has had to play outside back at times just due to need for Nigeria. Smith and Pugh and 3 defenders. Smith tries to go around, and Demaheen having none of it. Here's Gloria Ogbonna, played center back position in the first match, but slid out that outside back for this match.
Back to your question, I think they'll be frustrated that they haven't been sharper in the final third. But they've had their looks, they've had their chances. I mean, the first 30 could have been 2-3-0. But give Nigeria some credit for some adjustments they've made. They've switched from that 4-5-1 rotation into a 4-4-2, able to put a little bit more pressure higher up the field, get some numbers around Anumanu, less space in between the lines.
Second corner kick for Nigeria. Alozi, Houston Dash player, will take it again. Doesn't give her team a chance to get on the end of that one, though. And you hate to see those wasted opportunities
I
if
was
you're Nigeria.
just thinking, do I even say it? But you know, you fight in these games for those moments, and that's where Nigeria has to get sharper. You've got to put a ball in that's playable, that creates a dangerous opportunity for them when you fight for. Have to be pleased with so much of the movement. Fox getting high, coming into the play here, trying to find Pugh. And it's really the little things in that final third, I think, is what is going to be the big topic of conversation for the United States in terms of sharpness. And again, that will come. I think one of the things Andonovski has said to us over and over again is now that they've qualified, now that he's had a chance to look at players, now that they have checked those 2 boxes of World Cup, Olympics, you can build consistency. And that takes some time. Understanding those players around you. I mean, it was just the first time he had started the same 11 when you went from that CONCACAF qualifier final to the first game in Nigeria in his tenure.
Yep. Pugh. Crisscrossing back to Morgan left. With her left, goes all the way across. Smith would be able to keep this in, though. Huerta comes flying in. Oh, she wants this shot. Sophia Huerta knocked off the ball.
Great defense by Demaheen on that one. Huerta coming in with some velocity.
Here is Blessing Demaheen, the 20-year-old, was the captain of the U20 side for Nigeria at the World Cup. Imran, her U20 teammate, still on the ground behind the play. This means numbers up for the U.S. Pugh working the near side now. Imran back on her feet, back into the mix. Ohali, most veteran of any of the defenders, 30 years old, number 3 for Nigeria in the back. Played in 3 World Cups. Had a brief stint in the NWSL with the Houston Dash when Randy Waldron was coach there. Randy spent some time around the U.S. quite a bit. Former Notre Dame coach, a couple of national championships.
Yeah, and you can imagine when you get the likes of Ashwala back and Anome Ibi and some of those players you mentioned missing really their starting midfield entirely. I mean, this Nigerian team can be a handful going forward.
Well, you certainly can't discount experience. And while there are a lot of new players out there, there are also a lot of players who understand the legacy of this national team. I mean, there are only 7 teams in the world who have qualified for every edition of the FIFA Women's World Cup. Nigeria is one of them, as of course is the U.S.
I think the challenge, though, for a federation like Nigeria is then not to be complacent and say, okay, well, you're going to get them every year in. Because as we've seen globally, the game is growing everywhere, in Africa as well.
Haran, edge of the box, takes her shot, and it's saved.
Two great saves on Haran with Nadozi. The first one coming across with the cross. This one where she sets it up on her right foot. Just doesn't get all of that one. But still, Nadozi holding it clean. Nothing coming off of her.
Nadozi, 21 years old, plays for Paris FC in France. Starter in the 2019 World Cup when she was just 18 years old. So young but talented, clearly, and gaining some great experience. You think about how much a match like this is going to help Nigeria in their preparation for the World Cup next year. Chigini has Payne on the run. Lavelle tracked back to help, but it bounces to Ajibadi. U.S.
You get a look on the right side of your screen of that front three. Alex Morgan now on the right, Pugh central, Smith left. This is the mobility and transitional tendency of that front three now, the freedom really to pop into midfield, switch out of those positions. Haran will get high, Rose will get high.
And in these moments when you stall, how then do you restart? It's defended well initially by Ogbonna. Chigini, a wise touch wide because she had nobody really up in front of her. Morgan, right up the middle for Lavelle, who won't get there before Nadozi comes off her line.
Did everything right there positionally. Defensively, Mal Pugh not allowing that outlet to the outside back. Morgan as well, forcing it into Coffee. Everything they wanted, just the pace of that ball a little too much for Rose in the end.
Nigeria ranked currently number 46 in the world. You mentioned other teams in Africa giving them more of a challenge. They're 11-time winners of their Confederation tournament, the African Cup of Nations, by far more than anybody else. But this year they finished fourth, as I mentioned. Although we should say, so South Africa won it, then Morocco, who was the host, Zambia third, and then Nigeria. All four qualified for the World Cup. That semifinal match, Nigeria went down to 9 players, had 2 players sent off with red cards, still forced it into a shootout and wound up losing. It's against Morocco, the hosts. Over 45,000, I think, in attendance for that match.
Speaking of the game growing globally, Randy and Lauren Gregg, assistant coach of Nigeria, saying the facilities for Morocco and the investment they've made on the women's side has been so impressive.
Lauren Gregg, former assistant with the U.S. national team, been around a lot of teams over the years, also played, tremendous player, coach on the collegiate side in the U.S.
Our coach for many years. There she is. Good to see her back on the sideline, helping Randy out here.
Lavelle. Still with the ball at her feet, the touch wide, the header from Morgan would have erupted this crowd, but not quite on target.
And that's exactly what they were wanting going into halftime. A little bit of cushion. Another really good defensive sequence. Rose Lavelle gets it out. May turn out is in an offside position anyways, but that little chip ball into Alex Morgan, who gets the timing right, just doesn't get it on frame.
119 goals in her international career for Alex Morgan. That's 5th all-time for the U.S. Most amongst active players. She has 4 in this calendar year, including 1 in each of the last 2 matches. Winner in that CONCACAF final being one of them. And there's Cindy Parlow-Cone, U.S. Soccer President, Hall of Famer. Former
Getting in the
player.
booth at halftime. Let's go, Cindy.
And we'll get her thoughts on this CBA that's going to be signed. Big moment coming up. That's happening after the match. We'll also look back at our first half action, get you caught up on anything you may have missed. 1-0 our scoreline. An own goal, Julie. The difference so far.
Yeah, and I think they're going to get into that locker room and talk about a little bit cleaner in that final third, and this scoreline will definitely be a very different scoreline.
The U.S. certainly had their chances in this first half. 9 shots for the red, white, and blue. Only one of them found the back of the net. Plenty more to come here from Audi Field. So stick around. U.S. leading Nigeria 1-0 after the first 45.